welcome to this week's edition of the Casual Shooters podcast, your premier podcast for the casual shooter. This week's guest is an American biathlete and proud wearer of the red, white, and blue. She competed at the Winter Olympics in 2006, 2010, and 2014. Join me in giving a warm round of applause to none other than Lanny Barnes. How you doing, Lanny?
I'm doing great. Always great to be here, Dave, and I'm really excited to talk to you today.
Awesome. I've been looking forward to this. Did I get the intro right?
Yeah.
Okay,
you did.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, the last time I had you on, it was basically just about Prairie Fire Rank.
Right.
So I skipped the normal podcast, really difficult personal questions at the beginning. So this time I'm going to throw out the really hard icebreaker questions that typically stump everybody. The first question is, what's your favorite movie?
A River Runs Through.
Oh, that's a classic way back in the day. Okay, good movie. I can see that. You're an outdoor person. That's an outdoor movie. Very laid back. Yeah. The more difficult question that people usually have a hard time with is favorite book. There it is.
that is a tough one because there's so many good books out there.
Not the normal answer we get. Normally it's like, I don't read, I don't know.
No, I mean, I haven't read a lot in the last year, but reading was something that I did consistently, especially when on the road, competitions overseas. You didn't really have, the TV was horrible because it was always in a different language, and it was shows from the 70s and 80s dubbed over in whatever country's language we were in. And so reading was always kind of a staple of ours when we were stuck overseas.
So is there a genre of books that you prefer?
I pretty much like all different kinds of books, from, history to, real life, kind of motivational stories, to fictional, to anything. Like it, as long as it's well written and it keeps you engaged, I kind of like reading about all different types of things.
I don't know if you're into superheroes, but who would be your favorite superhero?
Kate Michalek.
Okay.
She's kind of a superhero.
All right, and who is that?
She is a superhero. Kay Michalek, Jerry's wife. Jerry Michalek's wife.
Oh, Kay. I'm sorry, I thought you said Kate. So
no,
I was
Kay
like
Michalek,
totally thrown.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, she's kind of, I always bug her about it. I tell her she's the modern day Annie Oakley because she paved the way for all of us younger shooters to, be able to do what we do now.
Yeah, she's like the OG.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Probably not what you were expecting. But no. I was going to say, Wonder Woman or something, but she was very anti-gun in her last movie, so that was unfortunate.
I thought you were going to say Captain America.
Just well, that's a good one too.
Like that's in my mind. I'm like, is she going to say Captain America?
I did think of it.
Okay, I like your answer better though, Kay Michalek. I like that. All right, so you have shot a plethora of guns and stuff in your time. Yeah. What is your favorite gun and what is your favorite caliber? And they don't have to be married together.
That's a really tough one because I think all the guns I own are my favorite. I love them all. But, I would say probably my Olympic Biathlete rifle is my favorite just because I spent so much time with that gun on my back and shooting and things like that. I mean, we ski around for hours and days with that thing. And you got to really appreciate how much it weighed because you were always carrying it around skiing and stuff. And then two, we customized those things so much to where it fit us like a glove. We put a lot of time and work and effort and energy into that. And I'd paint it every year too. It was a wooden stock that was custom made for me in Norway, and I'd paint something different on it every year. So when you kind of put time and effort into painting something like that, it really becomes special and kind of yours. And then
Okay.
caliber, I would say that, if I was marooned on an island and I could only choose one, I'd probably choose 22 because you could do so many different things with that. Um, it's just a good all around caliber. You can, hunt small game. It can pretty much do anything you want if you're a good shot.
And it's fairly inexpensive still.
Correct. Yeah, you can carry a lot more of it than, and not get super weighted down.
Right. Now, interesting, you said your stock is wood. Did you ever have any issues with swelling or shrinking of the wood in the different weather?
Yeah, so that was very common in our sport. One, because the weather was so variable that we could have snowstorms and stuff. So if there were any cracks or anything like that, if the wood wasn't sealed perfectly, then obviously you could have issues. And then another thing too is because we were carrying the rifle on our back while we were skiing, if you fell, oftentimes the stock would snap in half. So you had to be very careful how you fell, and so it happened for sure. Luckily, mine was made very well and didn't have any issues, but it happens for sure.
So if falling would crack your stock, that means I am completely out of skiing and shooting then because I cannot control how I fall and it gets pretty violent at times.
Yeah, it's a tough thing. I mean, sometimes you launch yourself off the course into fencing or into the crowd or just different things like that. So, you
Oh
know, you
Lord.
yeah, it was always a challenge.
Well, and for the audience, before we went live, Lanny and I were talking, and we were talking about weather and snow, and I had been to Bridgeport, California for cold weather training, and I had never snow skied before in my life. And the first time I ski, I've got to wear full pack, rifle, skis from what looked like the 1930s. It was a horrific experience. I'm surprised I don't have PTSD. So
It's
we
rough. It's a
literally,
challenge.
yeah, we now I'm trying to remember if it was a snow ski we did or a snowshoe or snow ski, but we had a night march. It was so they had snow cats with the lights on. It was 35 degrees below zero with wind chill, and it was whiteout conditions. It was
Wow.
nuts, but it was also probably one of the most fun times of my entire life. If I could
Yeah.
go back and redo that, I would do that again.
Well, you could always jump in biathlon. It's very similar.
Yeah, I was afraid I'd need like 10 guns to make it through the end of the competition. I'd be cracking all the stocks with the way I fall.
Yeah.
Now, you've also competed all around the world. So, the fifth question I like to ask people is unique to them, and that is what's the favorite place you've ever competed?
I would say Italy, and probably because it is so close to home as far as the mountains and the Colorado. It's very similar climate, and
Okay.
it's beautiful there. And the food's a little better in Italy, and the people are very nice. And it was one of those things. The races were a little bit more enjoyable because it was so sunny and beautiful. Like you finish your race and you'd be completely exhausted there, laying in the snow, but you couldn't help but enjoy the scenery and the surroundings. Where sometimes if you were in say Siberia and it was 30, 40 below, and you're like not really enjoying laying there in the snow, just completely
Not the
exhausted.
same
You're like, I
experience,
just
huh?
need to get warm. Yeah, yeah. So it was a great experience in Italy.
I imagine Switzerland couldn't be too far off of that experience, at least scenery.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Switzerland was great. We didn't have a ton of competitions in Switzerland. We had maybe one every 2 or 3 years, which was unfortunate. But um, I guess Italy was a little bit better because it was a little less expensive. So
Mm.
when you're on a tight budget in an Olympic sport where there's no money, it made it a little easier to pay for a croissant and not feel like you had to take out a loan.
Right. Like that was your only meal for the day. because of the
Right. Yeah.
cost.
Yeah.
So, so I have a question then. What was it like? Because you went to China, correct?
I for the Olympics or competition.
Um, I'll say yes.
I went
One or
to
the other.
Italy, Canada, and Russia for the Olympics, and then I went to Korea, the 2018 Olympics in Korea for as an artist and not an athlete.
Okay. All right. For some reason, I was thinking you were in, I don't know where I got it from, but I got some bad information somewhere. So I've been
It's
to
okay.
Korea. How did you like Korea?
I'll have to admit I'm not a fan of kimchi, but I enjoyed it. It was kind of interesting and really cool to see the culture because it's so different.
Hmm.
And we were right next to the DMZ, so they were slinging shots at each other at night and throughout the day and stuff. So that was interesting. But yeah, it was interesting for sure.
Yeah, that place is,
Cool experience.
I don't think people realize that there was only a truce announced, and that's all there's ever been. Those two countries are still technically at war.
Right.
So
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
got some crazy stories about that too. It's wild.
I'm sure.
But
Yeah.
I have found that American kimchi is completely different from Korean kimchi, and whoo, it is just the smell of legit Korean kimchi will knock your socks off.
Yeah. It's hard to get past that smell if you're not used
Yeah,
to
I
it.
didn't. I didn't make it past that
Yeah.
smell.
I couldn't either. I couldn't eat that.
We had a
Yeah.
guy bring some on ship. This is when I was in the Marines. He brought some on ship, and we didn't know. Not that he couldn't, but it was in a jar, and we were
Uh-oh.
out at sea, and he uncapped that thing. Oh my gosh! It was like a biological weapon. It's like whoa! I had
Yeah.
to
Right.
leave that area for like 8 hours. It was horrible.
Yeah, it's pretty potent if you've never had experience with it and don't have a really tough palate, then it's hard to stomach.
Have you ever been to the Philippines?
I have not. No, all the warm, nice places of the world I haven't been to. I've only been to the cold, miserable
Cold and
places.
miserable. I like that. That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah. Well, I really was hoping they'd start like in the summer where you could ski and shoot on the beaches with targets out in the surf, which would have been perfect. But no
I
one's done that yet. So,
I think you should start that because now I think we're talking about something that people would watch, and I think you would excel at it.
oh, it'd be great. There's one guy, Bill Koch. He started sand skiing on the beaches in Hawaii. He was a silver medalist, and he started a program where they cross country ski on the beaches. And I'm like, well, all you have to do is add some targets floating out there in the surf and make it nice and challenging, and it'd be a perfect sport.
Didn't they? I want to say in the Northeast, like Vermont, New Hampshire area. I thought. Now it's been a while since I've seen these types of videos, but I thought someone even came up with skis that have like treads on them for summertime downhill skiing. Have you seen anything like that before?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different things like that. Like there's a treadmill that you can ski on for downhill skiing. That not exactly the same thing, but it uh, at least for training you can use that. We used roller skis. They're about I don't know 2.5 feet long with a wheel on each end, and
Okay.
we skied on the pavement. Used our same boots and our same poles and everything, and we'd ski around with those things. And the only issue with those is we didn't have brakes, so if you hit a stop sign on a downhill or railroad tracks, you were gonna lose some skin.
Welcome to my world. That's how I am. It doesn't matter if you put anything inline skates, roller skates, skis. It doesn't matter. I'm losing skin.
Yeah, it happens. I've
My
lost my
wife
fair
is
share.
yeah. My wife is very good about roller skating. So we would go roller skating when there was one nearby. And just like when I was a kid, I could get going fast, but stopping was impossible. So I would aim myself for a wall and just, you know, go right into the wall and kind of catch
Yeah,
myself. And that's how I stop when I ski too. I'm like, all right, it's time to fall. Let me just dive over.
great. That's awesome.
All right. Now, when did you first shoot a gun?
I would say I was probably 7 or 8. Started out before that with little bows with suction cup arrows and, probably the uh, ping pong ball guns.
Uh huh.
And then probably about 7 or 8, we got BB guns and really started getting into shooting and small game hunting and stuff like that. And my dad, we had 3 girls, and shooting and hunting was his big passion. So he passed that on to us, and we really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
All right. So, and I saw a short video of that. Oh, I think it was on your Instagram. You posted that about your dad teaching you guys.
Yeah,
Now, but you and Tracy are twins. That's correct?
correct. Yeah, we're identical twins. Yeah,
Yes, you are identical twins. Holy
yeah.
cow. So your other sister, is she older or younger?
She's 14 months older. And
Okay.
the interesting thing about that is my parents, they didn't get an ultrasound. They wanted to be surprised. So they could only detect one heartbeat. So they thought they were having just one kid. And the doctor's like, my mom was huge, because there's 2 of us in there. And so the doctor said, you're having a really big boy. And then when I came out, they were scrambling for more nurses because I was like, there's 2 in there, get more nurses. So
Oh,
my dad, instead of
Lord.
getting a really big boy, he got 2 little girls. Quite the shock
I'm
for
sure.
him.
What's that?
Quite the shock for him.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm sure he's not totally disappointed. You guys have
Yeah.
turned out very well, especially shooting wise. Um, so does your older sister shoot as well?
She does a little bit, not so much. She became a ear, nose, and throat surgeon. So when she went off to school, that kind of took up most of her time, her schooling and things like that. So yeah,
Oh, you guys are very successful.
we had good role models. Our parents were great role models.
Okay. I'm assuming they were probably very supportive.
Very, very supportive. Yes. Yeah.
So how do you go from shooting a gun about 7 or 8, getting a BB gun, starting hunting with your dad? He's teaching you all this. How do you find competition and specifically the biathlon?
Yeah, I would say our main sport growing up was soccer. And kind of the way it culminated is we were really big soccer players and also doing small bore prone competitions.
Okay.
And the way it kind of worked out is we were 2 things. We were looking for a way to stay in shape for soccer in the winter because downhill skiing, you lift and it wasn't enough. And then 2, in our small bore prone competitions, they kept saying, you 2 girls are in the wrong. My twin sister and I, you're in the wrong sport because in between, the shooting bouts, we'd be juggling a soccer ball and chugging Gatorade and stuff like that instead of trying to calm our heart rate down and be still and things like that. And so there was a guy that was working with the biathlon team at the time, and he said, "Hey, you girls should try this out." And we thought, okay, well that kills 2 birds with one stone. One, we could stay in shape for soccer with the cross country skiing, and then 2, we could do something that's as close to hunting on skis in the Olympics that you can get, because hunting was kind of our biggest passion. And so we signed up for it and just fell in love with it.
Now, what age were you when you fell in love with hunting?
7 or 8.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we were hunting mice and small game animals and stuff like that. Went out, got our hunter safety, and just started hunting small game.
And what state did you guys grow up in?
Colorado.
Oh, okay. near where you are today or in another part of the state?
Same place. We grew up in, out in the country, so we had a lot of opportunities to, when it was season was open, we chased rabbits and we grew up on game meat too. My dad was a big hunter, so he'd go elk and deer hunting, and he'd take us, and that's kind of how we fed our family. So it was just kind of a family tradition to do that.
Okay, so now I see all of the posts you have on Instagram, cooking, like wild game and stuff. So you've been doing that though since you were a kid.
I have, yeah, yeah. I mean, we had to learn early on that if you didn't cook wild game correctly, one, it would either taste gamey or it'd be so chewy that you'd have to sit there
Very
and chew
tough.
it for 10 minutes. So
Yeah.
it was motivation to really figure out how to cook it. And, a lot of people think that it's very challenging, and it's not. Once you figure it out, it's just as easy as cooking any other meat. You just have to, know how to do it properly.
Right. I guess that's one way to prevent you from eating too fast is just make it chewy.
Yeah, definitely. Like my dad, for example, he awesome guy, but we grew up on overcooked elk steaks, so we, grew some really strong jaw muscles from sitting there chewing them over and over. He has
Oh,
since
that's
improved
funny.
his steak, cooking, but back then it was hockey pucks.
Wow. Okay. So what age were you then when this guy suggested trying the biathlon?
We were late middle school. I think it was going into our freshman year in high school is when we jumped into signing up for cross country skiing, and then going to some biathlon races.
Now, I assume by then, based on where you grew up, you were already into skiing and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean we had downhill skied our whole life. We hadn't cross country skied. It was quite the eye opener when you take those really stable, thick, wide, metal edged downhill skis and then jump on a really skinny ski with no metal
Hmm.
edges and your heels not hooked in and no ankle support and then try to launch yourself on a downhill and actually have control. So our learning experience was very rough, but we picked it up pretty quickly and kind of found some early success, and I think that helped.
Okay. Yeah, and that's at Bridgeport, that's what I was given, those little tiny 1950s skis with those big Mickey Mouse military boots, and just a spring attaching your foot to the ski. It's like, how am I supposed
Great.
to work this thing?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
good times though. What age was it that you made it onto the Olympic team?
First Olympics was in 2006. Almost made it in 2002, but ended up getting food poisoning during the trials and didn't make the team then. My twin sister and I, we would have been pretty young had we made it, but yeah, it's just one of those unfortunate situations. So first one was 2006, and in Torino, Italy, and awesome experience. It always love competing in Italy.
All right, I know we said we wouldn't do anything controversial, but are you sure someone didn't Nancy Kerrigan you?
We always thought about that because there's there's potential, but who knows? At this point, who knows?
Right. I
Yeah,
couldn't pass up on that.
yeah.
Until next time.
Don't be a little bitch.
Yeah.